Susan Rice has done a great job as our ambassador to the United Nations. This decision about my successor is up to the president, but I'm very happy he has the opportunity with a second term to make a decision.
Secretary of State Hillary Clinton today coming to the defense of her possible successor, UN Ambassador Susan Rice. Yet, the smear campaign against Susan Rice continues as more Republicans pile on. Rice had another tough day on Capitol Hill today, and now Senate Republicans are blaming Rice for yet another security failure. The U.S. Embassy bombings in Kenya and Tanzania 14 years ago.
Troubles me so much is the Benghazi attack in many ways echoes the attacks on those embassies in 1998 when Susan Rice was head of the African region for our State Department.
Senator Bob Corker of Tennessee had a warning for the president.
I would just ask the president to step back for a moment and realize that all of us here hold the Secretary of State to a very different standard than most cabinet members.
And while Republicans say they are concerned about Susan Rice advancing bad intel on Benghazi, they didn't think twice about confirming Condoleezza Rice as Secretary of State, even after she put forth bad intel on Iraq as National Security Advisor. Susan Collins, Lindsey Graham, and John McCain all voted to confirm Condoleezza Rice. So who and would Republicans support as the next Secretary of State?
I think John Kerry would be an excellent appointment and would be easily confirmed by his colleagues.
If John Kerry is nominated and confirmed, it would pave the way for a special election in Massachusetts and would provide another opportunity for Scott Brown to run, and they could pick up another Republican seat. Democrats aren't worried, pointing to Brown's 8-point loss to Elizabeth Warren. Meanwhile, the president is not backing down from his support of the ambassador.
Mr. President, do you think there no is being fair to Susan Rice in this meeting?
Thank you so much, guys.
Any thoughts on that at all?
Susan Rice is extraordinary. Couldn't be prouder of the job that she's done at USUI.
Let's bring in Karen Finney, MSNBC political analyst and former communications director for the DNC. Well, is this a communications problem right now with the American people? I mean, you look at this, I mean, it just continues to drip. The Republicans will not give up on this. Now it's Susan Collins, Bob Corker. They're in on the fray to smear Susan Rice. Where's it going?
You know, I just want to take one step back on this 1998 business that Susan Collins was talking about, because if we really, truly want to go there, let's remember that those attacks in 1998 were kind of when Osama bin Laden really came to the fore, and we really had a clear sense of what he was about and what he was attempting to do. So if we're going to go there, then let's talk about the massive intelligence failure on 9/11. I mean, knowing that you had that happening in 98, how did you miss what happened on 9/11, which resulted in the deaths of 3,000 people? I mean, if we're going to talk about, you know, missing the opportunity and gathering intelligence, I don't think that's a door that they want to open. But I think we're...
But Karen, what does this signal about the Republicans, that they will go to seemingly endless lengths to try to discredit Susan Rice? Why are they doing this?
Well, you know, I think obviously some people think that it has to do with this Senate race in Massachusetts. I mean, think how just appalling that is, that they're willing to trash a person's reputation, a person of Susan Rice's, you know, stellar reputation. This is a woman who has served this country honorably for a very long time, for a Senate seat. I mean, I think it makes the Republicans look incredibly small and incredibly petty. And I think it's very sad if you look at this. To me, as part of the demise of John McCain. I mean, he comes across, I think, as just feeling bitter and angry. This feels more like a grudge match. Then you've got Lindsey Graham actually already using this in his upcoming race for re-election. I mean, it's pretty disgusting stuff.
Well, it's the politics of personal destruction, no question about it, but it's also distortion politics. There's not a whole lot of positive things out there for the Republicans right now. They're really on the defensive. They're looking for something negative to put on the president. I mean, that's how I see it. And the president twice now has publicly supported Susan Rice, and now Secretary Clinton did that today. You can't get any more aggressive than that, can you?
No, you can. And look, some recent polling actually shows that whereas Americans don't love the way Benghazi was handled, they don't believe that the administration intentionally was trying to mislead the American people. And that is a very important point. I think that's what the Republicans are trying to say. At the end, they're trying to say that the president somehow didn't want us to know how bad the threat from al-Qaeda really was, when actually what we know from General Petraeus' testimony is that the decision was made to modify those talking points because we didn't want the enemy to know what was going on, not because there was an attempt to mislead the American people.
All right, there's a report out that Ambassador Susan Rice has a major financial stake in the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah.
If she becomes Secretary of State, first of all, if she's nominated by the president, I would assume this would be a problem in her confirmation hearings. But say she is Secretary of State, wouldn't this be somewhat of a conflict of interest that she would have to approve this pipeline that she clearly has an investment in?
Potentially it could be, and I think that would be a valid question in the course of if she were put forward for nomination. But let's also take a step back. I mean, she has complied with, as it's my understanding, all of the rules and regulations to the position of her current position as ambassador to the United Nations in terms of disclosure. If she were to be nominated for any additional position, obviously, there again, I'm sure she would follow all of the rules and regulations, not just with regard to disclosure, but again, dealing with this as a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
If potentially that's what they thought it was.
And NBC News reporting that former Republican Senator Chuck Hagel being vetted for a possible foreign policy post. So we'll see how it all goes. Karen Finney, great to have you with us tonight. Thank you.